A mysterious, highly contagious disease causing children to violently cough was first discovered in the Middle Ages. In Italy, it was known as dog bark. In England, Schinnerkin cough, and in China, the 100-day cough, and it spread without warning. Within America, it became known as the whooping cough for its distinct sound, and in the 1930s, it killed more infants in the United States than polio, measles, and tuberculosis combined. At the height of the Great Depression, with limited funding, Dr. Pearl Kendrick researched and developed the first successful pertussis vaccine, a new frontier in disease prevention. Her achievement in adding this life-saving vaccine to standard inoculations for infants was a trailblazing advancement that vastly increased the U.S. life expectancy for children, saving millions of lives. This success against all odds by a pioneering female researcher has inspired future generations of women to pursue careers in science. According to the National Library of Medicine, in the late 1800s, scientists had developed vaccines to control many infectious diseases, including smallpox and typhoid fever. However, this new frontier of medical advancements inspired public policies that were not without criticism. In 1879, the Anti-Vaccination Society of America was founded, concerned over the perceived violation of personal liberty and choice. As work in microbiology continued to progress, the bacteria Bordetella pertussis, which causes whooping cough, was discovered in Belgium by Jules Bordet and Octave Gengot in 1906. By 1914, pharmaceutical companies in the United States sold many pertussis and mixed serum pertussis vaccines made to both treat and prevent whooping cough. However, they were not effective and children were still dying. In 1929, just 10 years after World War I ended, the Great Depression began and left many Americans in poverty. Across the country, people could not find food, jobs, or health care. This led to poor living conditions and increased the circulation of disease, escalating the need for public health care and preventative medicine. In addition, while educational opportunities for women had risen, a lack of employment opportunities for women remained. Public health was one of the few scientific areas that had begun to seek out educated women, as it was considered mindless rote work and paid less. Pearl Kendrick, a newly graduated female bacteriologist, took a position working at the Michigan Department of Health Laboratory as a branch chief, determined to make a difference on this frontier for disease prevention. In the 1930s, whooping cough was one of the most serious diseases of young children, killing approximately 6,000 children per year in the United States alone. Kendrick, a survivor of whooping cough as a child, was steadfast in her desire to stop the disease. However, she struggled to acquire funding to research vaccine development. With help from her colleague Grace Eldering and volunteers, they began working on their own time collecting specimens of Bordetella pertussis.
Now this was at the time of the Great Depression in the early 1930s, and we learned about the Depression as we learned about whooping cough, and we had a watchword after a while. It was around to the back and up the stair. And many of these families were very poor, with the fathers out of work, and we collected our specimens by the light of kerosene lamps. We'd find a whole family of whooping, coughing, vomiting, strangling children. And the idea was to open this plate of red medium with the blood in it and let the child cough so the spray fell on the medium.
Kendrick and Eldering started running tests. 1,592 kids were involved and 712 kids received the vaccine, while another 880 served as controls. I felt scared to death, Kendrick admitted. The trial was successful. Of the group that got vaccinated, only 4 mild cases were reported. Due to previous disappointments with earlier pertussis vaccines, the medical establishment was skeptical of the results. The esteemed male epidemiologist Wade Hampton Frost doubted the validity of the trial, stating, "The odds are strongly against Miss Kendrick's experiment being sound." On the heels of the Great Depression, President Roosevelt enacted the New Deal in 1933, which consisted of programs like the Works Progress Administration, or WPA, a project to help stabilize the economy. This legislation would prove to be necessary to many Americans, including medical researchers like Pearl Kendrick. In 1936, when they were desperate for funds and their research was in jeopardy, Kendrick astutely brought First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, a human rights pioneer, to the lab to advocate for her public health work.
And we had help of the WPA, Works Progress Administration, and we don't allow people to say bad things about the WPA because we couldn't have done this study, absolutely couldn't have done it without the help that we got from the WPA.
In 1939, after securing the funding, Kendrick once again showed her pioneering spirit by assembling a diverse team of researchers. This group included Lonnie Clinton Gordon, an African-American woman who was having difficulty finding employment due to racial and gender discrimination. Gordon supported pertussis research at the Grand Rapids lab, where she contributed in isolating an especially harmful strain of pertussis that made an even more effective vaccine than the first.
I knew what my mission was to be, to help find the culture with sufficient virulence to make the vaccine.
In 1944, the American Medical Association added Kendrick's pertussis vaccine to the list of recommended immunizations, and pertussis cases began dropping rapidly. In 1948, the United States combined 3 vaccines into the DPT vaccine, which protected against diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. Kendrick was chosen to promote international vaccine standards in Latin America and the Soviet Union from the World Health Organization. In later years, Doctors Kendrick and Eldering combined the DPT vaccine with the inactivated poliovirus vaccine, or IPV. The merging of these 2 vaccines dramatically dropped the amount of required injections. Overall deaths dropped from 7,518 in 1934 to just 10 a year by the early 1970s. Anti-vaccination sentiment faded throughout the Great Depression, but never fully disappeared as there was controversy over the safety of the pertussis vaccine. Despite the development of life-saving vaccines today, there is a small but growing backlash against childhood vaccinations, including pertussis. This reluctance can be attributed to opinions spread on social media, the fear of side effects, religious beliefs, and more. As a result, childhood diseases continue to spread. Reported cases of pertussis in the U.S. have more than doubled already in this century, from 7,867 in 2000 to 18,617 and 7 deaths in 2019. Recently, there was a whooping cough outbreak in New York, resulting in 12 cases.
We have a health alert for you this morning. Rockland County officials now say there are 12 cases of whooping cough in the county. News 12 is told 9 kids are under the age of 5. The rest are between 5 and 10 years old. Only one of the children, we're told, has a record of being vaccinated.
Shying from the public eye, Kendrick never sought credit for her pioneering vaccine work. Nevertheless, she and her team proved that women could research and develop successful vaccines. In 2017, the percentage of women in STEM grew to 27% due to increasing education and employment opportunities for female scientists. Her tenacity in securing funding and work ethic is exemplified by female biochemist Catalin Carico, who helped develop the COVID-19 vaccine. The life expectancy for children worldwide has increased due to the vaccine developed by Dr. Kendrick, and her work with the World Health Organization has paved the way for eventual eradication of pertussis.
After Kendrick's death in 1980, a tribute written to her said, quote, "A life saved by prevention cannot even be identified. Who are the men and women living today who would be dead from whooping cough had it not been for Pearl Kendrick's vaccine?"
Today, Dr. Pearl Kendrick is remembered for her relentless spirit toward developing and standardizing the life-saving pertussis vaccine, a new frontier in disease prevention.